PTR update on a Monday? What is this? Blizzard must have found out that Goats is still meta, so they're rushing to buff some anti-Goats characters. First up, Junkrat, his frag launcher's projectile speed has been increased from 20 to 25, but the grenades bounce less but explode sooner. The devs say, with this change, we're looking to slightly increase the range at which Junkrat can land direct hits. The speed of his bombs has increased, but we tuned it so it won't affect the arc of his projectile. This means that aiming with it will feel the same. The grenades bounce less and explode sooner, which will allow Junkrat to aim them more deliberately. This will reduce the amount of rolling grenade spam when playing against him. As a Junkrat enthusiast myself, I can tell you that this is overall a massive buff. To give you some perspective, at least according to the wiki, Pharah shoots her rockets at 35 meters per second. Now Junkrat will just be 10 less than that. And as for the bounce change, I think it's incredibly irrelevant. Yes, I know at lower ranks of play, when the nades are bouncing around and you don't see them and you walk into one and die, it feels terrible, but for the most part, the bounce is irrelevant. Just bouncing a nade once around a corner is often enough to land it into the death ball. The lingering effect, I really don't think matters, because most of the damage comes from impacts anyway. I think a lot of people have this assumption that junk nades just bounce around haphazardly and hit things randomly, but really, I don't think it's the bounce. I think it's just the arc that it comes at can just get tossed over cover into chokes and lines of fire and common pathing routes where it ends up hitting you directly anyway. But overall, this should be a good thing, because if it is true that at the lower tiers of play, the lingering effect was what made him really oppressive, well, hopefully now at least he'll have to aim Junkrat, but it also makes him, I think, really good at the higher end of play. He already was probably one of the most viable DPS, thanks to the Goats meta, but now he's even better again against dive. Why would you ever play Genji if you can play Junkrat now? Okay, I'm freaking out, but there's more in this patch as well to get excited about. Reaper's Shadow Step now can be used in air, and the time to exit Shadow Step has been reduced from 1 to half a second, and he's now invisible for the entire time it takes to exit Shadow Step. And the last thing is a quality of life fix, can now teleport onto surfaces that would usually break like railings. The developers say this: Shadow Step was originally intended to be purely an out-of-combat mobility tool to traverse the map, aka not useful in the slightest. They go on, since Wraith Form was already a great tool for disengaging. However, this made Shadow Step very situational, so we're increasing its flexibility to make it a better, less niche ability. This will enable Reaper to use Shadow Step in more offensive situations. This one's pretty incredible, and I wanted to get on the PTR to test this and the Junkrat change out, but I can't launch the thing. I can see the patch notes, but I can't actually get on to test this stuff. But you gotta imagine now that some great escapes could be possible using Shadow Step, as on the other end of Shadow Step, you're invisible. So you can slink around a corner, Shadow Step to a safe location, and you won't be visible again until you complete the animation, so I assume. And as well, since it could be used in air, I assume it's going to be something similar like Doomfist's Seismic Slam, where you have to be above the platform you're looking to do it to. I'm curious to see the skill cap of the ability now that you can use it in many more situations. I still wonder if it's basically useless still. Except maybe in ranked. Like, Reaper's already decent in ranked at a lot of levels of play. Even at higher ranks, you can sometimes get him to work because you just don't have the communication to always call out where he is, and maybe he does get a flank, it just pops up on a healer and one-shots them. Now, that playstyle is going to be a lot better, but it's not like all of a sudden Reaper is the answer to Goats meta, where the entire battle takes place on the objective, in a brawl, toe-to-toe. None of this go invisible Wraith Form across the map stuff matters up against Goats. They've got shields, they got hammers, they'll swing and stun on you, and you're just wrecked. So, an interesting change. Obviously, they're looking to make Junkrat even better and more reliable to deal with Goats meta, I think. Try to really punish you for playing triple support, triple tank. But this Reaper change, it's sort of a fun thing that's going to be cool in ranked, I think, but still a non-critical meta component for the highest level of play. Other changes: Symmetra's teleporter, railings, and other breakable objects no longer block teleporter placement and teleporting. Very similar to the Wraith Form change as well. That's something that they probably fixed. 2 birds with 1 stone. Few other updates here. This one's really important. Hero Gallery, you can now set your victory pose choice to random. Thank God, the game was unplayable before that. I actually like this. This type of stuff makes me excited. I always pick random for my highlight intros. And a new social feature, there will now be an option to set your profile so your current group can view it, meaning that You can be private for the rest of the world, but if you use LFG or get in a group, you don't have to unprivate your profile just so they can see it. Now, there's a few bug fixes, and some of these may actually be balance related. You always want to look out for that, because if a bug makes a hero stronger or weaker, these can sometimes be the most impactful buffs or nerfs around. Baptiste fixed a bug where immortality field wasn't immediately destroyed when it is hit by the payload. Now, I think they're trying to stop you from being able to hide the field underneath the payload, but it seemed like there were still some tricks in how to hide it, so now it's probably going to be even more difficult to do so, but maybe some of those cheeky immortality field spots still exist. Doomfist, he's one who's full of bugs, but this one might be humongous if it actually works. It says, fixed a bug where enemies would not collide with walls while being knocked back by rocket punch. Seems fine, right? Well, this is a massive bug that's known by Doomfist players called a slider, where you would punch someone into a wall, but just by happenstance, they wouldn't connect with it to deal the actual damage it should, and instead they would slide off the wall as if they're just rubbing up against it, not being pinned against it like they're supposed to, taking the extra damage. Now, I'll warn you, Blizzard likes to say they fixed this stuff, and then it's like somewhat fixed and not really fixed, but there's more bugs that pop up. You never know, right? But this could, in fact, be a significant Doomfist buff, making him even better, and he's already been playing pretty well, I'd say, on the new patch. Next up, Mei fixed a bug where she wouldn't be healed by other heroes while in cryo freeze. You guys have to correct me in the comments section, but I believe she was always supposed to be able to get healed, but never did by anything, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think this is like a off interaction thing that sometimes wasn't working. I think across the board, Mei wasn't getting healed while inside of Icicle, and now she can be. That's a pretty big change. But that's everything for the patch notes today. I was so hyped to see this, but I wish I knew this was coming out. I would have included it in the earlier video today, but that's fine. Double upload for you guys. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please be sure to leave it a like. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Link to the description is our Twitter, where we tweet out news updates and dank memes. That's been it for me. I've been Frito for your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.